Hey friend, welcome to Healthy by Heather Brown. Do terms like mental health, intermittent fasting, and buzzy wellness words make you feel overwhelmed? If you don't know where to start with loving the life you already have and letting your good things grow until they become daily habits, I got you, mama. So join me as we unpack what it looks like to live a life well loved and redefine a new approach to health from the inside out. Think of this space as your girlfriend's group text with the occasional dad joke and point of view from my Yankee hubby, Eric. We promise to give you key takeaways that you can implement right away to pursue health in your mind, body, and soul because God made us that way. Don't stress. Let's hop on this Hot Mess Express together. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Healthy by Heather Brown. I am thrilled today to have gotten to meet and bring on the show Laney Rene, who is an author and has a book that is about to come out that you guys are going to want to know all about. It's called Daughter. And so I just know that since so many of you are women and you are moms that are listening to this, it's going to really touch you in a deep way. Just reading about her bio and kind of just learning a little bit about her ministry behind the scenes. I was like, oh my gosh, she's just such a perfect fit for the podcast and for my audience. So today, I just want you guys to listen with open hearts, open ears, and be ready to take some notes. So I think she's going to give us some really good nuggets to take into our days. So with all that said, welcome to the show, Laney.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
You're so very welcome. Yes. So I gave a brief little rundown about who you are, but maybe tell everybody where you're from, how many kids you have, are you married, all the things.
Yes, I am from Dallas, Texas, more specifically like Keller, Texas, for anyone who's from Texas and listening. But I grew up, I was homeschooled and just in an incredible family. I have an amazing mom, dad. I'm married now. I have an incredible husband and I have a little girl. She'll be 3 in January. And then I also have a little boy in heaven. His name is Rory. I carried him till about 17 weeks, and then he went to be with Jesus, and he's changed our life. So I'm really grateful that God chose me to be his mom. And anytime somebody asks, like, how many kids you have, I always feel just like, you know, and moms who have walked through that as well, I feel like you can relate to this. You know, you never forget your babies, and
Yes.
He is very much alive to me just as much as my daughter. And so but yeah, we live in Texas. We are wanting to move to Nashville. So we love Nashville so much, and
go Preds.
Incredible. Yeah. Go Preds. Go Dallas Stars. Sorry, I'm still a little bit loyal, but yeah, that's a little
awesome.
bit about me and my family.
Well, I do want to unpack that a little bit because I actually have not had a chance to even have anybody on the show yet, Laney, that I think that I've had women on the show that have lost kids before in utero, but I don't think that we've ever really talked about it. So if you don't mind, maybe even just spending a few moments there and letting us know, because I have not lost a baby in utero. Thank the Lord. I was very, very blessed that I got to have 2 healthy pregnancies. And if you've listened to my podcast for a while, you know that my struggle was different. It was postpartum depression and lots of different things. Everybody has a story somehow related to becoming a mom. And I think that's one of the things that I'm really excited to hear you talk about a little bit with your upcoming book too, with the concept of daughter. But do you mind just telling us a little bit about your story? How did you find out? How did you and your husband process that? And how can we as friends and sisters in Christ encourage other mamas that are walking through that?
Yeah. Honestly, walking through that had a huge part in writing this book. We found out because I had gone in just for a normal ultrasound. And honestly, like up until I went in, I kind of felt like I knew. There's so much to this, so I'll try to unpack this. I had a dream literally the night before I went in and found out that all my dream was I saw basically just like 2 hands holding my baby, and my baby was still in the sack, and I just saw him just perfectly curled up at peace. That was the extent of my dream. That's all it was. It was 2 hands and I just saw him. And when I woke up, I was like, man, that was a nightmare. Like that was horrible. And I told my husband about it. But at the same time that I said it was a nightmare, there was almost something in me that was like, was there something more to that? And I went in and had an ultrasound, and we couldn't find a heartbeat. And I remember honestly just feeling a overwhelming just shock, honestly, like when you find out, you have those weeks leading up and you're so expectant of your baby, that you're going to meet. And I just remember when I had a midwife, and she told me, it was almost like it wasn't hitting, like it wasn't registering like what was actually happening. But as the time, kind of the day passed, we ended up going into the hospital because I started to go into labor. And I remember just walking up to the counter and telling them, why I'm here. And I just said, my baby didn't have a heartbeat, and just tears, just honestly I couldn't stop tears from coming. And I remember they wheeled me down this like long, probably felt like the longest hallway of my life. And I just remember thinking like, this doesn't feel real. This doesn't feel real. And then there was like a moment, I don't even remember exactly like what happened. It was nothing in the natural really happened, but there was almost just this supernatural rise in my spirit. And I remember just feeling hope rise up in me, and just a peace come over me. And there was just this incredible nurse actually who was there, who when I walked in, I have a whole new appreciation for nurses after walking through this, but I walked in and she just wrapped her arms around me. And I remember in that moment, I was just like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And just feeling God's peace rush over me. And through that whole journey, like I remember just times of sitting in my car just weeks after and just feeling an overwhelming sense of God's presence like I had never experienced before. And just being so broken, yet at the same time, just being overwhelmed by God's love and God's kindness. And I remember just going like, how can these two things like dwell together? But they are perfectly right now. Like I remember just being like, gosh, I'm so broken, yet I feel so whole. Like I feel like you're healing me. I feel you closer than I ever have before. And heaven was becoming so much more real to me than it ever had. And there's a scripture in 2 Corinthians 4:8, and it talks about some of you who have grown up in church, you may be familiar with this verse, but we're hard pressed, but we're not crushed. We're perplexed, but we're not in despair. And when I read we are perplexed, but not in despair, the not in despair just stood out to me so much, because if you look up the word despair, it literally means without hope. And I think there are a lot of things that we go through in life, and this is one of them as a mom. You feel so hopeless. You feel like this is so final, and how could God redeem this? But if you go on to keep reading that scripture, it talks about we bear in our body the life of Jesus, so that the life of Christ may be manifest. And that's what I felt. I realized like in that moment, I felt maybe for a moment I was perplexed, but I wasn't in despair. And then suddenly there was this rise of hope within me because of the life of Christ in me, because of the true spirit within me and what I live by every day. And I feel like just for the mom who's walking through that, I would just encourage you that there's hope. There's never, it's not final. God can redeem. Like in that same season, I remember studying Jeremiah 29:11, and I've known that verse my entire life, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. But if you look at that word, the word for future, that was originally a Hebrew word. That Hebrew word that was used in the Bible for future also meant past. And I just had this moment where I was like, oh my gosh, like only you, God, can step into something that is our past, something that's already done, and fill it with hope and give it a new ending. And so God's a redeemer. And I think if you're walking with your friend through that, I would just encourage you to just remind her that she's loved. Like you don't have to, if you've not walked through it, it's really hard, I think, to understand and know how to comfort. And I had a lot of friends in my life who were trying to figure out how to comfort me and how to walk with me. And My best friend, I remember, asked me, like, how would you say to comfort them? And I think just saying, the simple, I understand, like, I understand that you're walking through this and I'm with you. And maybe I haven't walked through that same pain, but, just knowing that they're there and walking through it with you, and just means so much. So
100%. Well, I so appreciate you sharing a little bit of that story. And I don't know if you saw, but I was crying while you were talking. It was really, really impactful. And so I think that that's what's so incredible, is that you're right. God does redeem that brokenness, and that he also still brings hope. And what a sweet God that we have, that he's willing to allow hope to remain for believers. And I think that, I don't know if you feel this way, Laney, but a lot of times when I think about non-believers that go through these kind of devastating things on earth, I just really wonder, like, how do they go through that suffering, and how much more impactful is it for them when they don't know what that ultimate hope is? And so I really, really think that you sharing the story is going to impact someone in a really large way that's listening to this, because I know it did me. So
and I would just say, like, I kind of touched on this, why the book kind of came out of that. Whenever I shared that we had walked through that, I had already shared publicly that we were pregnant. And so I felt like I had to go back and share after that, like, no, I'm no longer pregnant, which is really hard to do. But because we were open with our story, it's connected me with just a lot of women who have walked through that. And through them trying to comfort me, there was a lot of amazing words and a lot of comfort and a lot of prayer that was spoken and blessed us so much. But I also connected with a lot of women who said it will never get better, and it will always be, this hard. And I remember when I read those words, something in me just was like, no, meaning I don't believe that it has to be that way. I believe there's so much more. And I think even as believers, oftentimes we just don't realize what all we've been given through Jesus. And we go through brokenness. It doesn't mean we live in this world. We walk through pain. We walk through brokenness. But we have a Redeemer, and we have a healer, and we have a God and a Father who makes us whole. And so I just believe that though we walk through those things, we don't have to stay there. There's so much more so what God has for us, and the reality of what it means to be his, and to live a life with Jesus and under the blood of Jesus. So.
Hey mama, do you feel like you are surviving on chicken nuggets and goldfish and haven't stepped in a gym since college? Or maybe, on the other hand, you feel like you're checking every health box and are still hitting a brick wall? Well, I'm here to help you redefine what it means to be healthy from the inside out. I'm a former fitness instructor and everyday mom who is passionate about helping you create a beautiful life you freaking love. So I'm opening the doors to the Healthy by Heather Brown membership to the public, and can't wait to walk alongside you and be your cheerleader. When you join, you'll be added to my exclusive Facebook group. You'll receive my Sunday reset training that will help you create promising, sustainable, healthy choices from the inside out, which will in turn lead to a more joy-filled life for busy moms. Live coaching and workout classes with yours truly. You asked and I listened. We'll talk about how to balance your whole health when you have kids and life get busy with school and activities. It includes grocery haul ideas and accountability as we all reset together each Sunday. There will be so much offered that you won't find anywhere else on the internet. Are you ready to take one step out of stress, shame, unhealthy boundaries, and fatigue, and add healthy rhythms to the Hot Mess Express? When you're ready, I'll see you on the other side of the link in the show notes. I'm excited and ready to hold your hand and meet face to face.
Amen. Well, you said a couple of things that I kind of want to unpack a little bit. So the first thing that you talked about was how you it almost wasn't real to you. And you talked about the nurse and how she hugged you and all those things. So I do think that this was almost, encouraging to me in a different way. But Laney, I really do believe that this is divine timing that I'm interviewing you today, because tomorrow I'm leaving to go to Tampa to go to my mother-in-law's celebration of life. And so it's very raw and real. And so that's just so crazy that the Lord orchestrated all this. I'm very thankful for
so cool.
It is, for your words and encouragement. But my husband's sister, which is obviously like my mother-in-law's daughter, Janelle, she is also a nurse and she trains nurses, and she's 38. And so she's been in the medical field for forever. And she was like, Heather, it's just so interesting when you lose someone that close to you. And she was like, but as a nurse, I know all the stages of grief. I've walked my patients through the stages of grief. And she was like, and yet still the stage of grief, of denial, I could not believe how hard it hit me. Like, she was like, I still was like, why are people sending me flowers and cards? Like, mom's not gone. And so I guess, like, to me, I was like, okay, this is so refreshing to know that even when your head knows something, sometimes your heart and just like the deep, longing that we have on this earth for our restored bodies and our restored, family in Christ and all those things, like, they still are going to long for that day when Christ makes it all correct. And so to me, that was really just refreshing to know other people that even like know better mentally still go through those stages of grief.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Do you mind me asking, how did your husband go through it, maybe differently and also similarly with you? Because I know that there has just been a lot of grief and heaviness in our world in the past few months and years. And so I think that could be encouraging for women to hear from a relational standpoint.
Yeah. My husband is just, he's amazing. Something that I feel like I watched with him throughout really just since I met him, he always seems to let me process first, and then he will process in a way. And I felt like this was probably the most I got to see that really happen, because he walked through it from a different perspective. His thing was, he watched me walk through not only not only was he experiencing loss and pain and, the devastation of losing his son, but he was now watching me walk through that and still have to, give birth and just all of that, physically that he watched me go through. And I honestly felt like I processed really quickly. Like I dealt with it like right away, days, hours, all of that just right after. And I almost felt like my husband kind of waited, not maybe intentionally, but he waited until I was like healed, at least 90%.
Yeah.
Until I felt like he really started like processing. And that was something I had to learn, because honestly, after I was healed, I was like, I'm ready to have another baby. I'm ready to not move on, but like, I'm ready to move forward in that way. And he was like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Like, because he was still really, now he was grieving, now he was letting himself really think about, what had happened. Whereas before I felt like he was really focused on me, just trying to make sure like I was okay and my body was healthy and just everything that went with that.
What a sacrificial love. And I do feel like a lot of times that is where, biblical marriage looks a lot different than just maybe secular relationships, is that it truly is supposed to model how Christ loves the church. And it's a sacrificial love. And it's not just always seeking your own happiness, which is so not popular to say in today's culture. So I'm so glad you got to give that testament to your marriage and how incredible of your husband as well.
Yeah. And honestly, I would just say like I said, I don't even think it was like intentional, I
think it just
is
what it is.
It just happened, it just is because of Jesus in him. And then he naturally handled it that way. And it's funny you asked that, because it's almost like I haven't even put that all together, but that is exactly what happened, and I feel like now we're both at like our hearts are are good. Because we've seen God's goodness in it. We've been walking this with him and letting him heal our hearts and breathe life into it and all of that. So my husband is incredible. I love him so much.
And also I'm going to step on a brief soapbox about marriage because this is so Laney, every episode that I do, pretty much after you and I talk on the show, they'll hear the marriage corner, which is Eric and I talking, my husband. And,
I love that.
And we love to just chat through, different things. And I just want to say really quick that one of the things that I think is so toxic that women do a lot of times when they get together in groups of other women, and especially when it's not somebody that's like your trusted circle, like maybe it's your small group leader, or maybe it's, your accountability partner or your sister or somebody like really gets where your heart is and where your husband is.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Yes. But if you just openly complain about your husband all the time, he didn't do this and he didn't do that, you don't even realize how much damage that is doing to your own mental psyche about your marriage, your emotional health with your husband. And also it's poisoning other women's views of their husband. So please don't ever talk negatively if you can help it about your husband, unless it's in your safe space. Safe space, people.
Yes. It's funny. Clayton and I will have moments. My husband's name is Clayton, and we'll have there are friends we'll hang out with that it's almost like you can almost get so jokey with each other, like that you can go that direction. And then we'll have moments where what are we doing? We hate doing that.
Rein it in.
Yeah, we're rein it in. Why are we, what is making us start picking on each other? Some of that's fun and
it is,
but it can get to a point where you're okay, let's reel it in.
There was a line and we just went past it.
There was a line and we went past it, and we don't want to do that, So yes, that's very relatable. And I think anybody can kind of start doing that on accident.
For sure. Well, tell us a little bit about daughter, because I feel like I haven't gotten to really ask so much about it. And I think that it's going to be from what I've read about it online, I'm really excited to read it myself. So do you mind just telling some of the women maybe what your hope is and your desire out of writing this book that women will get when they read it?
Yeah. I grew up, I think I mentioned this, I grew up in a Christian home. I grew up knowing about God. I grew up with a relationship with Jesus. But it wasn't till I feel kind of my early 20s that I just started to realize there was so much more to being his than I had ever realized. And I was very insecure most of my life. I always wanted to be confident so bad. And in that, it kind of caused me to just think about myself a lot. I think our insecurities, when we're focused on our insecurities all the time, all we do is just, it's a cycle of thinking about yourself. And with this book, I really just walk through a lot of my own personal experiences of finding God in those moments of brokenness, of insecurity, of the challenges that I walk through. When I was young, I dealt with a lot of fear. And in my teenage years, I dealt with an eating disorder. And then I walked through a really broken relationship for 4 years of my life. And, and I talk a lot about, our son in this book and just what God has shown me through that. But through this, I think I just want women to know there's more, there's more to being his than what you've ever known. Psalm 145:3 is one of my favorite verses. And it just talks about there is no end to the discovery of greatness that surrounds him. And I think with each of these seasons that I've walked through, I've realized, God didn't just come to give me life after death. He didn't just come to give me salvation, but that life is life for every part of my life now. It is for my insecurities. It is for my hope. It is for my healing. And just seeing that, being his daughter is wholeness, is completeness, is hope in this dark, dark world. And there's been many moments in my life where I feel like I've, discovered that again. And when I was about 22, I remember sitting in my apartment in Nashville. I was backup dancing at the time for a Christian artist. And I had just actually quit that job, broken up with my boyfriend of 4 years, and moved to a new town and all of this. And I just remember just feeling like, okay, everything I've known, everything I've done, everything I've found myself in is not who I am anymore. And I sat on my bed in my apartment. And I remember just saying, God, who am I? Like, why am I here? What purpose do I have? And in that moment, I felt like God just reminding me of a video I had seen of myself when I was a little girl, just recently, actually. And I was about 3 years old in this video. And I go into like our playroom at my parents' house, and I pick up a little karaoke mic, and I look to the right and I say I, and I look to the left and I say love, and I look dead center and I just said Jesus. And there was something about seeing myself as a little girl with just nothing to prove, no care in the world, no stress, no fear, knowing exactly who I was. And that moment really changed my life from there on out. And I've had, like I said, a million moments since then of God just reminding me who he is and who I am. I feel like, as women, we need that reminder every single day. Like, it doesn't matter what season of life you're in. I have women, I've known in my entire life, and yet I feel like some of them have never truly known who they are, and yet there are children who know who they are, more than adults. I do, more than adults. Yeah. It's just this constant discovery of who God is and who we are to him. And I think so much of life is getting back to that childlike self. We're growing up, but there's so much wisdom in a child. They're just living. They're just trusting their father. They're just taking it a day by day and not a care in the world. And I think that's how we're supposed to live with God. I think we're supposed to live as his daughter, as his child, looking to him. What do you have for me today? How are you going to take care of me today? How are you going to provide? Because there's just this trust. And something else that really impacted this book was a story. If you've grown up in church, again, many of us know, but so many of those stories and verses, I feel like God has just brought back to life and helped me see in a new way. And the story of the prodigal son, about, the two sons and the father, and the younger son comes to his father and says, I want my share of my inheritance. And he runs off and he wastes it all on prostitutes and wild living. And the older son stays close. The older son serves his father, and he does what, he's supposed to do. And then when the younger son returns, the father runs and puts a coat on him and throws a party. And the older son is like, wait, why? Like, what happened? What did he do? All this time I've been working, I've been serving you. I've never left you. And the father turns to him and he says, son, you are always with me, and all that I have is yours. And I think so many of us, even as believers, can relate to that older son. We live with this crazy identity and inheritance and just God-given, this wonderful gift. Yet so often we have no idea. We're living with it, but we don't live from it. We're not enjoying it. There's so much more to a life with Christ and by his Spirit and the inheritance that he's given us. We read the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness. Like, all those things aren't things we have to achieve. They're not things that we're striving for. It says they're fruit of his Spirit. And so we actually have those available to us every day, all the time, to just that's part of my identity as a daughter now. I have his Spirit within me, and those things are always there for me, already freely given, already mine. And so that was a long-winded version of what I would want people to know. But there's just so much. There's so much that I feel like God has just shown me about his heart for us as women, no matter what season we're in. And the simplest way I could say is that I just want women to know that they really have a good father who is better than they can imagine. And in that, there's just a lot for you to receive and discover about him. And there's hope, and there's healing, and there's restoration and joy. And you don't have to live with a broken identity. You can live with the whole one. So
that's right. I love that so much. Well, Laney, I'm so glad you came on today. I have one final question for you that I ask most of my guests that come on the podcast, and then I'll have them tell tell everybody where they can find you online. But will you just tell me, if you could tell me one thing that you do to reset, whether it be mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, what is your go-to reset button that you push? And is it weekly, daily, monthly? How often do you feel like you need to reset?
I feel like right now, because I have a toddler, I need a reset like every other day. But my reset is I get in my car and I go for a drive and I put on worship music, and sometimes I just sit there and I don't say a word because I just need some, silence. And
yes.
Other times I just pray. I just speak scripture over myself that's, impacted me, and I remind myself what's true. And most of the time I reset is in my car. I just sit there. I'm like,
yes.
God, literally. I mean, I felt like I did that yesterday. I was like, I need a minute, and I need you to like fill me with faith and hope. Cause it's easy. I feel like just even in a normal day to get out and look at the world and get discouraged and drained and, start to just feel heavy. And that's kind of how I felt yesterday. And I remember just sitting there and just going, okay, God, I need a fresh breath of hope, a fresh breath of faith in my lungs. And I felt like he gave it to me. So
that's amazing.
It's really just asking him to give us what we need. And I know that he is faithful to give it. So
he is. Well, Laney, tell everybody where they can find you online, and thank you for that encouragement. Because I'm like, I bet you some moms today are going to be like, "Yep, that's what I need right now." They're going to turn off this podcast and get to it.
You know what? I'll probably have one of those moments today myself. You can find me on Instagram. My handle is Hey Laney Rene. And LaneyRene.com has a lot of info about. I'm hosting some worship nights this fall, and also daughterbylaney.com is where you can find my new book, Daughter Becoming Who You Already Are.
Amazing. Can I link it on Amazon for them too in the show notes?
Yes, that'd be perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I love that.
So you guys go down to the show notes, and I'm going to link a prior episode that I did on grief with Ashley Stock from Little Miss Mama. And then also make sure you check out Laney's resources, because I feel certain she probably could point you in the direction of some other Bible believing mamas that have walked through the kind of grief that you are if you're listening to this and your heart is broken in the same way as hers, but also you're looking for that hope. I do want to mention Madison Vining blog on Instagram. I know that she lost a daughter, and the way that she speaks about it in her account really breathes life into me and my love for the Lord and my affections for him daily. So I'd recommend her account as well. But anything else that I can find that are resources that Laney gives me, I'll put down in the show notes for you guys. So just scroll down below this podcast episode. Make sure you leave me 5 stars, hit that follow button, and then make sure you give Laney a follow. But just so grateful for your time, Laney. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. It was my honor. I love this conversation. This was so life-giving.
I'm like, you need to come back. We're coming back.
Yeah,
okay. Y'all have a great day. Bye, guys.
You too.
Welcome to the first Marriage Corner that we have recorded for 2024. Eric Brown, welcome back.
Thanks. It's good to be back. New year, 2024. And yeah, it's a new corner in our new house doing this Marriage Corner. So it's pretty cozy, kind of like the last Marriage Corner.
It's true. We do have a lot more natural light in here, and we have a lot larger surrounding area of us, though. So that's positive.
Yes. Lots of changes this past year, and being our first Marriage Corner here and in 2024, I actually thought we would look back on 2023 and thought about maybe doing a year in review with you, and we could talk about that.
Yes, I absolutely love that idea.
So along those lines, I thought, maybe we can start off with some of the small things. In this past year, vacations, family vacations, other small memories, and kind of work up to some of the bigger things that happened in our life. So you want to start with maybe one of the first things from our year in review of 2023?
Yeah, for sure. So this is kind of a small one, like you said, but to me, this is the year of toothless Leighton. That kid
has lost so many teeth this year. Layton's in first grade, and he went forever without losing teeth. Like, we were kind of like, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden, didn't he lose 2 within 48 hours?
Yeah, Layton, so a little bit of a late bloomer.
Yes.
You know, that kind of runs in the family.
On both sides.
On both sides. And all those teeth were just holding on. I think he lost maybe one a year ago or pretty early. Then after that, no more teeth. And finally, like you said, this past year, I think he's lost 6 or 7 teeth. So, you know, there's very little teeth. It's a very toothless grin. It's very cute. And I do think about that a lot, just if looking back on 2023.
Yeah, I keep singing to him all during the Christmas season. All I want for Christmas is my front teeth. And he just looks at me like, oh gosh, Mom.
That is the perfect song for Layton this past year. I think that's a great memory with Layton. One of my smaller memories, and have done this for the past few years, but continue to coach both Layton and Finn's soccer teams this past year. Was the head coach for Layton's team in the spring and was the assistant coach when he moved up to an older age division in the fall. And both seasons were great. Both teams were great. The families were great. Layton and his team were fortunate enough to win in the fall, and I was happy to be a part of that team and help out. And just a great coach, Coach Corey, did a great job with the kids. I learned a lot listening to him. Layton had a great time. He had a pretty bad cold during the playoffs and had a cough throughout the playoffs, but he fought through, and I was very proud of him. He scored a couple goals in the season, being one of the youngest kids out there, and I was just very proud of him. In regards to Finn, I coached Finn, the head coach of his team, in the fall, and I say coach, I use the term coach lightly when you're talking about 5 and 6 year olds, maybe even some 4-year-olds, I believe. But man, Finn, to no one's surprise, Mr. Aggressive. Whenever he runs, he kind of leads with his belly. So belly first, spent a lot of time on the ground, scored a lot of goals. I'll give him that. You know, if you have an aggressive kid at that age group, more than likely they're going to do okay. And Finn has a lot of energy and aggression in him. I joke with people that it's the first time a 5-year-old has gotten close to getting a red card in a soccer match, which is getting thrown out of the game. They had to stop 2 matches to pull Finn aside and tell him to stop pushing other kids, which wasn't one of my proudest parenting moments. But then also too, you know, I just told him, hey, buddy, you know, we can't push, but I do appreciate the aggressiveness. You know,
for sure, you can't teach that. Can't teach that.
Yeah, had an assistant coach with me on Finn's team, and Coach Michael, and we had a great season.
For sure. I think that season, the most epic snack one of the moms brought was Hannah Bakes Custom. If you're here in Birmingham, she brought these incredible homemade cookies with stars and soccer balls on them. I was like, you win the whole thing. You know, in soccer, when the little kids, you bring a snack after every game. Most people bring like the goldfish package, maybe a Gatorade. I don't know. And then she comes in with these like incredible cookies. I was like, dang, girl. So if y'all need somebody to make you some cookies, holler at her.
Yeah, there's always one family or one mom that goes above and beyond and kind of makes everybody look bad. But having said that, I'm all for it. So you keep doing what you're doing, and the cookies were delicious. So
that's right.
Go for it.
Along that same vein, with the kids, I will say that, you know, we said Finn is finishing up his preschool program. So I can't believe he's wrapping that up. That is wild to me, after being there since Layton was 3, and now he's going to be finishing there. That is probably going to kill me come May. But then I also think personally that I loved going to Orange Beach with you guys. I loved going to, we did our first ski trip this year with the boys. Tell a little bit about that.
So I was going to say we could do just a little rapid fire on some of our family trips and the trips that you and I were able to do. And it's one of those things I never want to gloss over. I know we both feel very fortunate and blessed to have the time to have family vacations and do those kinds of things. And we are just truly appreciative for those things. But like you mentioned, our first trip out west with all the boys, we went out to Colorado, got to visit my best friend Kent and his wife Kellyanne and their 2 boys, which was great. Just like most of our trips, we try and do everything on a budget, you know, whether it's, you know, utilizing Hilton points or Southwest points to fly out there. And also, too, obviously there's very expensive resorts out in Colorado, which are great. But for our boys' first trip, we just went to Loveland Ski Resort, which is one of the closest ski resorts to Denver. We stayed in a Hilton hotel a few miles outside of there. It was great for the kids to learn, and you and I had a great time. Nobody got injured, so that was great.
Eric did try to take me out. The lowest level is blue or green. I always get confused.
Well, there's the bunny hill, then there's green.
Okay, so I thought we were getting off on a green, and then we get off, and first of all, we had to kind of jump down this mountain from the chairlift. I was super freaking out just about that, and then Eric finds out, oh, shoot, I got us off on the wrong level. We were on a blue.
It's true. It was a weird lift that I haven't seen this very often, where you can stop midway through or you can keep going. And pretty much, I think 99% of people keep going all the way to the top, which then has more options going down, greens and things of that nature. But I kind of panicked. I said, Heather, we got to go. And it was probably about a solid 5-foot drop off of the lift. I landed it perfectly, but I'm just saying.
Eric can do double blacks and he can snowboard. So, of course, he landed it perfectly.
So my real quick story, I said nobody got injured, but the trip wasn't without some adversity. So we put the kids in ski lessons for 2 days, and Loveland has a great little 2-person lift going up the bunny hill. And I was snowboarding this time. Snowboarding is probably my second. I'm a better skier than snowboarder, but with us just going down a lot of some of the easier hills, I wanted to do some snowboarding. But long story short, Finn, 4 years old at that time, wanted to go up on this little ski lift, this little 2-person ski lift at the end of the second day. And I said, yeah, sure. Buddy, we can do that. And
to the top of the bunny hill, right?
To the top of the bunny hill. Not very tall. Anyways, I get him off. He gets off of the lift just fine. And as we start going, I'm trying to hold on to him while I've got one foot in my boot and the other foot is out. And I'm trying to guide him while I'm going behind him. Well, all of a sudden, he catches an edge. He completely just stops. I kind of keep going. I'm trying to pick him up. And all of a sudden, I catch an edge and I go down. And I can't remember, but he lost his skis. I think my bindings got twisted up. It was just like a whole big mess. And immediately at that point, I just completely regret that decision to take Finn up there, because I know there's not going to be an easy way down. Heather may have heard me use a few choice words. Finn may have learned a few new choice words at that time. Long story short, I eventually just take off my board and I pretty much, guide him down, walk him down the hill while he skis down. Leighton did great, but it was a great trip.
My only regret on that trip is that I did not video Eric blessing out every person on that hill in that 5 minutes.
That would have been funny. I'm glad there's no video evidence of that. But Colorado was great. We actually did make it out west, just you and me, to celebrate our 15-year anniversary.
15 years. That's crazy.
And we actually chose to go to Sedona. Once again, I think you had mentioned earlier in the year, you said, I really would like to get out to Arizona and it looks beautiful out there. And I said, yeah, I think we can look into that and make it happen. And just like as always on a budget, had some Hilton points and had some Southwest points and figured where was a nice Hilton hotel out in Arizona. So we went to Sedona, and honestly, it was one of my favorite trips that we've been on together. We've done a lot of trips together, but Sedona, just the hiking, the food, just everything about it was great. Just spending time with you and the conversations we were able to have and reflect on the past year and learn some news at that time, which kind of leads into some of the bigger aspects of our year in review. But it was just a great trip to just be very appreciative and just gain some perspective, I feel like.
You guys, you have to look up Bell Rock. That is where we hiked. That was my very favorite, right? Wasn't that the one that we did?
Cathedral Rock.
Cathedral Rock. We did both. Cathedral Rock was incredible. If you ever get the chance to go out there and even just look up pictures, it really, Eric and I said it's one of the most incredibly beautiful natural things we've seen in any of our travels. It was so pretty at sunset.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite hikes I've ever done. It was gorgeous. I told you it almost looked like I felt like when we were at the top looking down. and the sun was kind of shining through. If you can imagine what the Garden of Eden may have looked like, that's what I would have had in my mind.
Yeah, for sure. And then if you guys do get out there, was the name of the restaurant Mariposa?
Yes, Mariposa.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The food was good, but really it was the views that were so breathtaking. Such a good conversation was had. It was just awesome.
The views were great. You were sitting across from me. You were looking gorgeous.
Thanks, babe. Way to get that in there. Getting those brownie points.
Perfect. It was the best view I've had, best view possible. Your dress was gorgeous that night.
Oh, so thank you.
I will say. And I think just to end on our year in review, two major kind of life events, I would say. One, moved into a new home, and we're looking for a little bit more space as the boys are getting older, and just mainly getting some more storage. We love our neighborhood where we live, and we were fortunate enough to find a new house about a half-mile away. And I feel like so far we've been in it for 2 to 3 months now, and couldn't be happier. And the boys have acclimated well, and we're just very, very fortunate. And we're thankful, and we hope to host a lot of people and entertain. And hopefully this home will be used to glorify God.
Yes, absolutely. It's been such a joy so far. And of course, we're still, swimming in boxes, but that'll get done eventually. And we are really, really just incredibly grateful for all the Lord's blessed us with, and the timing and just the way that the house happened. It really was just super evident that it was the house for us.
For sure. So the other big life event, and I think you've alluded to this in some of your other podcasts, is my mom passed away this past year. Obviously very sad, had been struggling with early onset Alzheimer's, dementia for several years now. And it's one of those things where obviously I'm still very sad to this day, but ultimately just super thankful that she is in heaven, that she's no longer hurting, and she knew the Lord. We had a celebration of life down in Tampa, which is where my family lives. Everybody got together. My dad threw a great party, which is what my mom would have wanted. She was always a great entertainer. And my dad spoke, and each of my siblings spoke, and I was fortunate enough to speak as well too. And I thought I would just share a little bit about what I spoke about, and thought I would share that with everybody, if that's okay.
Yeah, I think they would love that.
So I read this, and this was from another one of my friends who recently lost a loved one, and I felt like it really kind of encapsulated how I felt. But he wrote, and I'm going to paraphrase some of this as well too, but he said, "I've tried to approach this grief with psalm-like mentality where I pour out the pain to God. I've tried to be honest with him about how I'm feeling, especially in the sadder moments. It's been refreshing at times and still really difficult to manage. The pain of loss hasn't diminished very much for me." And he goes on to say, "As I reflect on the last few months, I find myself feeling incredibly thankful for a few key things. Friends that really love one another and do the hard work of sitting through each other's pain. A family that is loved so well that it makes the pain of loss acute. And Jesus for validating that pain, empathizing with it, and preventing it from being hopeless. And the fact of the matter is, this life we live and lead, it is not hopeless. And my mom knew that. And the greatest gift that she gave our family was she prayed from the day that myself and my siblings were born that we would come to know the Lord. And that wish was granted. And I'm super thankful and blessed for her, and thankful that there is hope in this world."
Yes, absolutely. Well, when Eric read that the first time, as you guys might imagine, during the service, I bawled my eyes out. I choked up there for a minute, but I have regained composure, so you guys don't have to listen to me sniffling on the mic. But I mean, Sue really was just the epitome of the greatest hostess and love the Lord. And her favorite Bible verse was, "Be still and know that I am God." And I loved how at the service they talked about Sue already knew the "know that I am God." She just had a hard time being still sometimes.
Yeah, she knew that. She knew God. And my brother spoke on that, and he did a really good job. But
yeah, I did.
It was just a true celebration of her life. I'm thankful that she is celebrating and glorifying the Lord each and every day in heaven.
Absolutely. Well, we definitely have had a lot to be thankful for this year. And I do just want to end by saying that we're really thankful for you guys. One of the biggest things that happened in my life with you guys this year is that we rebranded from the podcast from Healthy with Heather Brown to Healthy by Heather Brown, or as my friend Megan Davis will tell you that has been on the podcast before, it's HB squared. That's what she calls it. And so I am really thankful that I was changed my Instagram handle from My Life Well Loved to Healthy by Heather Brown. We did the 3rd season of the podcast, and man, it's just such a blessing to get to keep evolving the business and what the Lord lays on my heart to be able to share and how to share it with you guys. I can't tell you enough how much it means to me when you encourage me via direct messages, whether it be that I share a portion of loss, like Eric's mom this year, or whether it be that you tell us that you're praying for our family, or whether, I am getting to hear from you guys what a difference the podcast has made in your life, or Instagram stories, or whatever it is. It's just truly a gift that Eric and I get to be on this journey of life with you guys. And we're so thankful that you guys are here and believe in the hope of heaven to come. And so with all that said, we're really excited to see what 2024 brings. Eric, anything else you want to close with?
I think it was a full year, fulfilling year, lots of changes, and who knows what 2024 will bring. So I'm done making predictions, even though I say that we might do a predictions of 2024 and see how wrong we can be. But that was fun last year when we did that as well, too. We'll see.
It was. Okay. Well, we love you guys. And Happy New Year. Let us know your goals. Leave us a 5-star rating and a review down there. We'd love to hear what you have to say and what you want to see on the podcast this season. Till next time.